I think as I've gotten older and I think as I've gone through a lot of different things in life, um, I really realized that for me, I think my ultimate purpose is, as cliche as it sounds, is to create and then be able to share that. Like I really feel like for me, the way that gets put out is different. Like the way it's packaged looks different, right? Like whether that's through fitness or whether that's through marketing or whether that's through podcasting. It's like all of these different avenues. But I really think for me, like ultimately what my heart and my like passion is in creating, is in taking something from literally nothing, like a blank piece of paper, and then being able to pull that forward and see it all the way to its end potential. To me, that's what gives me the most feeling of just like, wow, like this is really like something that I just made. Like this didn't exist before. And so I think naturally for me over the years, that's really been flexed mostly in business, in pursuing my own business, in helping other people with their businesses, small businesses, and then also in this, being able to collaborate on this with you and have this really amazing idea and be like, okay, this is a cool idea, but like, what next? Like, where do we go from here? And being able to create that structure and put it together. And like, now we have this thing that's alive and breathing. And that's the way I think about business. Is I don't think about it like as a like thing that you just like have on your desk that's like, just boring and outdated. And I think of business as something that's alive, that, it's a brand. It's something that comes to life. It's something that has potential. It's something that has a community around it. And so I think for me, my Ikigai really circles to that, is to creating things that giving it a life of itself and being able to share that with people and being able to create things that I feel like align with my values and my purpose as well. And for me, Wahine Wealth Club, I think it was something I didn't know that this is what it was. Like I didn't know this is what I needed. But once we started talking about it and you were like, hey, I have this idea of like this thing. And then I was just like, oh my God, yes, that's what it is. Mm-hmm. And when you shared with me, you wanted to create something for females that like redefine the concept of wealth and like thinking about it in the way you were thinking about it. And then the work we were already doing together with training, and then just like all of our random like just being business owners, like trying to figure stuff out, and like all these conversations we've had. And I was just like, oh my God, that's it. That's like exactly what it is that's like missing. And having something that feels like it can help other people that maybe are where I was at 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Yeah. I went to college because I was the only person in my family to graduate college. So my parents never went to college. And so I had the opportunity to go, and I felt like I needed to go because I was like, well, I have the opportunity that like, I should probably take it. Mm-hmm. And so in going to college, I was like, well, I guess I'll just get a degree in business because I don't really know what I want to do with my life, but at least business is practical. I was like, I don't want to just like have this degree I can't do anything with. So, I always tell people though, no one prepares you. I was actually talking to a client about this yesterday. No one prepares you for how shitty the first year out of college is, because everyone's just like, oh, like you graduated, like you got this like great degree, all the opportunities are going to open up for you. It's going to be amazing. And then you graduate and you're like $50,000 in debt and you don't have a job, and you probably don't have a ton of friends around if you move back to where you came from because they're all gone. And you're just like, who am I? Just like, what am I even doing? Yeah. And it sucks. And no one tells you that, especially in college. No one like prepares you for that. And so I just felt like for the first like probably 5 years out of college, you just feel like kind of lost. And you're just like really searching for like who you are, what your purpose is, what your Ikigai is. Mm-hmm. And you're in debt and you're trying to like get a good paying job somewhere. And I think for me, in those years, though, they're really formative because they showed me what I didn't want to do. It was like, okay, I tried this. I tried the 9-to-5 office. I tried punching the clock. I tried doing all the things to climb the corporate ladder, to show up and do better work than yesterday. And I'm still not getting recognized for it. And my ceiling's only so high. I was like, okay, I tried this. This is not what I want. This is a life that I know if I stick with this, if I stay on this road, I'm going to wake up 30 years from now and I'm going to be like, what happened to my life? Where did my life go? How did I end up here?
What was there a key point in that revelation or
Yes. So it was in the last job that I worked on before I decided to transition into mean training full time. It was actually during COVID. There's a lot of things that happened during COVID that were very much just kind of that pinnacle of all of those things. But it was essentially during that time, I kept getting overlooked and kind of promised things that weren't getting delivered on in terms of what the next progression was going to be for me in my career. I was told, don't worry, we're going to keep you during all the layoffs and everything, and then it was the next level is coming, you're going to move into it. Just be patient. And I just felt like it had just been happening so many times at that point that I was just kind of done. I was just I'm not being appreciated for the work that I'm putting in. And there's this thing at that time, I was just doing mean training on the side with online personal training. And then we were doing some random beach boot camp workouts and stuff like that. But I was just like, dude, this is really cool. This is where my passion lies. This is something I am willing to work 24/7 on and not get paid for, but I just love this work versus over here, this job that is paying me, that's stable, secure, la la la, all the things that they tell you to look for in a job. But I was just oh my gosh, this is just sucking the life out of me, and I really want to put that into this thing that I'm passionate about. And I actually quit my job in the middle of COVID, which was in hindsight crazy. My parents thought I was insane because they laid off so many people, but they kept me, and then I quit. And my mom was like, what are you doing? She's like, you just and I was like, that. Yeah. And it was just it's that gut feeling, it's your gut knows before your brain knows. I'm a big believer in that, when you're just no, this is what I need to do. And this is the time I need to do it. And in hindsight, it did not make any sense on paper financially. It did not make any sense just in the structure of where the world was at with COVID and just all the things going on. But I was just it's just what I got to do. I don't know. That's just, and yeah. So, obviously looking back on that now, and I guess trying to tie that all back in with Wahine Wealth Club, I'm really passionate about speaking to that girl, about that person that maybe is in their 20s, just graduated college maybe, or even someone that's older that maybe is having a career change. Maybe you're in your 30s or 40s and you're in that point where you're oh my God, I just woke up and realized my life isn't what I want it to be. Where do we go? And I really want to be able to have those conversations, to be able to share those things. Not because I have all the answers, but because I think together, the combined power of us speaking with guests and being able to share those things, and also just opening up conversations within the community of other women. Yeah. I think that is missing. And that's something I'm man, if that existed when I was in that place, I would be so about it. And like I said, I think that creativity side of if it doesn't exist, we should create it. If we think it needs to be in the world, then I think it's up to us to make that.
100%. Me and Bruno actually, we have this, this saying or this thing that kind of is very similar between us. And then also I see it with us too, is just take the risk. And, I think a lot of times people, they're uncertain about things, they want to do something, but something's holding them back. And it's not a reckless risk, sometimes you got to have it thought out and stuff. But if you're not happy, this is your life. You can 100% change it or find something new or do what you want to do. But sometimes there's always that thing stopping you. And, you know, as we were talking, I kind of had a flashback of we met, or like I heard of you even before we had a chance to connect. And it was when I think we were looking for a new space for our gym. And then a mutual friend was like, oh, I know this couple, Hannah and Ricky, and they do a fitness thing and they're looking for their gym. And I was like, oh, but like, you know, it just didn't align up that time. And then like how life is so funny, it just brings us back to meet again. And at this time it was like, wow, it was like perfect. Like we were meant to, you know, we did a 5K Train for Your Brain event together with Fight Story, and it kind of just took off from there. I also wanted to kind of like share with the listeners on the day that I took the risk and wanted to like open up and share like my thoughts about Ikigai with you. And it was literally in the other room at the studio. And Bruno was having a training session, and I don't know what I was doing. I was supposed to have a training session too. But
I think you were supposed to be training, but Ava was just like crawling all over you.
So yeah, you know, I wasn't able to have my session because Ava was just like had a lot of energy. And I was like, you know what? I was like, I've been doing a lot of thinking and writing, and I just felt this urge, this like push to share it with you. And I was like, I don't even know why, but I'm just gonna like share it with Hannah and let's hear her feedback on it.
She like whips out her phone. She's like, I need to tell you about something. And has like this whole like Google Doc written out. I was like, whoa, what is this?
Yeah. A lot of like, you know, late nights just like pretty much like journaling or getting my thoughts out, talking to ChatGPT, like
good old friend ChatGPT. Helped us out a lot.
And yeah, it was pretty much like, what you were talking about earlier of like, I have this thing like on my heart. I want to do it. I don't know how I'm going to do it. And then as soon as you read it, like I think the next day or like later on, you were like, I feel like I really resonate with what you wrote. And that was like the very beginning of how this whole idea came to be.
Yeah. It was crazy because I think you shared it like, it was like totally unexpected. You shared it with me. And like when I was reading it, I was like, oh my God, like this is like kind of what I was saying. I was like, this is like that thing that like I kept feeling like there's something more that needs to be like brought out, you know? And then I think like also to our relationship of not only friends, but then also like your fitness journey, right? Like of like, you know, pursuing your fitness after fighting, after being a professional athlete for pretty much your whole life, like being a fighter. And then like pursuing just your own personal physical wellness, and then how that bleeds into the mental and how that bleeds into the spiritual and the financial, and all of those components come together and make your Ikigai. And I was just like, oh my God, this is the thing. And I think it's crazy because it just feels like so much of that and so much of like our interactions and relationship up until this point have really just felt like they just kind of like organically happened, but it was very purposeful. And you know, I mean, you know, I'm a Christian, and you know that I have like very strong faith, and I don't think anything happens by mistake. I don't think it's a mistake that we went through the same things that we went through with our sisters. I don't think it's a mistake that we had like all these weird points of connection before actually meeting. I don't think it's a mistake that we both share very similar passions and very similar interests in the things that we do. But I also don't think it's a mistake that like timing wise that it's happening now the way that it is. Because again, I think back to like the person I was even just 5 years ago, and I'm like, that would have scared the crap out of me. Like I would have just been like, oh my God, like that's so scary. Like putting yourself out there like that, like jumping into something completely unknown. I'm like, I don't know how to start a podcast. Like,
me too.
Is anyone going to listen? I don't know. Like, you know, and that would have just like totally scared me. I probably wouldn't have taken that leap. But I think the years of like, you get reps of like putting yourself out there, and then also opening yourself up to those opportunities and being open to other people and being able to be vulnerable with other people too. Those opportunities and those things just kind of naturally happen.